Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to comment on Immortalis, the new legendary summoner that's coming for the Earth Splinter. The stats were released earlier today. It's December 27th. I gave some initial thoughts in my own head, just read the post from Peak D, which we'll have a peek at in a minute. And then I just kind of made my own general thoughts to myself. I didn't post them anywhere. And this is me just trying to share what I think about this one and how I think it'll fit in and where the real utility will lie. Let's go over to Peak D. 4th Chaos Legion Legendary Summoner airdrop revealed. Now we're going to get it in early January because the team is on vacation. The post says that specifically. A lot of details here. I don't know. We don't need to read it. Every million packs we get one. We're going to roll over the million like tomorrow. 25,000 packs are being burned every day. There's only 30,000 packs left. So that's like tomorrow for sure. But it's December 27th. It's holidays. Some of the key staff are not on. And it says down here, please note that due to the timing of the packs selling out and limited staff availability during the holidays, the Immortalis airdrop card will be available in-game likely early January. So first week of January, maybe. That's kind of what I was expecting because I knew that Cryptomancer was on vacation. And he's the one with the power to push the button to kind of activate and release or whatever. They never want to release these sorts of things while staff is away, because if they activate and there's some sort of problem with the airdrop and let's say too many copies go someplace or not enough copies go to the right place, that would trigger a response. It needs to trigger a response. And if the staff's not there, then they can't do that response. So they're not going to issue them if the staff's not available. Here it is. -1 heart, void, and shatter. If I'm being honest, I don't love this. Now, I haven't done a deep dive on this exactly, like in terms of thinking through my own thoughts, looking at the Peak Monster website, looking at the monsters it'll synergize with. I do love Void for, I think it's an amazing resiliency thing. Like this adds a lot of extra hit points to you in many, many battles. But I don't really feel like Shatter. Now, Shatter is very helpful. But there's enough Shatter monsters. You only really need one Shatter monster, right? That's one of the things about Shatter. It's not as if you shatter an armor and then you need to shatter it again. Usually, unless there's a repair, Shatter is one monster on your team. It doesn't need to be every monster on your team. If you have two monsters, that can sometimes be helpful because if you kill the first guy with armor and right behind it there's another guy with armor, it can work out such that you shatter both of their big armors. That is usually an exception or a rarity where that sort of opportunity is going to exist. I feel Shatter is a one monster thing. And I will usually, especially if I believe my opponent will play like a Grandmaster Wraith or some armored up tank, I will look to add a Shatter. I like that ability a lot. I'm just saying, I feel as though as an ability, I don't know that it adds a huge amount of utility because I always already play a Shatter. 2, there's a ton of Shatter monsters in the game. 3, you don't need 6 people on your team having Shatter. Void, I love everyone having. I feel this is one of the cornerstones of what Immortalis will offer. And on this topic of the Void, it strikes me as worth noting that we've talked about over the last several months that I feel the meta of this game has moved away from Magic, which was like the beta, the alpha, beta, Alric, water meta. And it's not just Alric either. It's the other legendary summoner from the water team, Valnamor. So plus Magic was for a long time. 2 years, maybe 3 years was definitively the meta for Splinterlands. 2.5 years, I'm going to say. And then we moved into kind of kitty and speed manipulation, blind, phase, dodge, flight. So many evasive things where that's definitely the meta now. I think this summoner, Immortalis, leans into the diminishment of the Magic meta, right? It gives you one more option. Immortalis will be a new option with which to thwart Magic attacks. I like this card in the context of one of the places I like playing Mimosa Nightshade, who is a legendary death summoner with Void, is I like playing her on battles where the monsters lose all their abilities. So one of the things I like to do in those rule sets is play magic first, and I find most of my opponents will do the same thing, because magic will cut to the heart of their armor, or past their armor to the heart of their hit points. And so bringing void can be really helpful, because you usually are going to see some magic monsters on your opponent's team. And so I see Immortalis offering utility in that specific rule set. Of course, void's going to have a lot of utility a lot of time. This is, in my opinion, the cornerstone of where this card will find its value. I think it's interesting that it continues to kind of slap around the magic meta. Like, is it the case that people feel magic is still too prevalent? Is that what you feel? Like, I'd love to see comments below. Do you feel as though magic is still a really dominant approach to Splinterlands? I feel it's probably in a balanced place, but it might be worse than, for instance, archery right now. With some of the archery buffs that have come out recently, there's +1 damage with Sloan, and with the older dragon summoner, and there's Prince Rin too, and then there's a lot of double strike archers, and there's also close range archer with the Fernheart. So I feel as though magic is either in a good spot or has been nerfed so significantly by all of these different things that I mentioned before, like phase, and phase specifically, void and void armor. Grandmaster Wraith is part of that with the void armor. Phase is definitely part of that. You see some of the amazing taunt monsters that also have phase, such as Coral Lurker, bringing speed and phase together to really resolve, like solidify speed. I'm just really surprised that this summoner doesn't approach or deter or have something to say around the speed meta, because it feels as though this card, the stats were designed, at least void. I'm really astonished by that. It's a great ability. I'm not saying it's a bad ability. I'm saying it's an excellent ability, but it feels as though this card would have been so much more powerful 2 years ago. And in this context today, I feel as though it's going to be okay, because magic is still a prevalent part of the game. It's not, in my opinion, it's not the main attack form. It's not the best attack form. You're going to like that. And Rift Watchers has brought some big magic monsters, so you're going to like that. I feel Shatter is a bit of kind of a whatever, and -1 heart is always good. But again, it's not, doesn't require a lot of conversation. -1 heart is good, period. Outside of the rule set where every monster loses its abilities, Void being so powerful in that rule set, Shatter being so powerful in that rule set, because in that rule set, your opponent will either do a ton of armor, usually they'll do a ton of armor, and they'll do a ton of hit points, and they'll focus on magic attacks. So I feel this card will really thrive in that one rule set. And otherwise, I just feel like it's not the strongest. I don't know that I love this card. Let's go over and look at the green Splinter, and we'll try and talk a little bit about some of the modern green cards and see how it can fit in that conversation. And then we'll finish by maybe making a price prediction on it. Hopefully we'll keep it in under another 5 to 10 more minutes here. So we'll try and spend 5 minutes on card analysis. Okay. Bramble Pixie is certainly a lot better with a Void. You're not going to be disappointed that she has Shatter. It's more of a tank because of that. Grund would be a lot more resilient. One of his biggest problems is that he's vulnerable. Adding the Void would be huge for it. I mean, I guess the point is, is there ever a monster you wish didn't have Void? So yeah, Void's helpful. But again, was magic so prevalent and problematic and that it needed another nerf? Because every sort of a summoner that responds to magic, in a sense, nerfs the impact of magic. I don't know, man. Yeah, I mean, I see cards where it will be helpful. How great will it be to slap a Void on Coral Lurker? One of the things about Rooney is its most vulnerable kind of component is definitely magic. So being able to slap Void on this guy will make it even more of like, look at this win rate, 71%, but also Rooney is, like, in my opinion, an off tank. And you slap Void on there with its self res and everything. It's just, yeah, that's powerful. Some people have a gelatinous cube that is a lower level and they won't have the void. I find this thing with the void is actually pretty nasty. And so this summoner with the gelatinous cube at a lower level will be nice. Dr. Blight gets a ton of hit points by the end of each match. And if you add that to a void, I think you start to see really significant benefits. One of the things about sneak attack plays is often you get these like low mana, high melee damage, quick speed, low hit points. And one of the, it's so, you guys know how powerful that can be. But if you lose, it's usually because your meat shield in the front fell down. Now, will Void really help those meat shields stay alive longer? And then when these sneak attackers find their way to the first position because you've lost your main tank, that Void is absolutely going to help them. Shatter is going to help the sneak attack plays because there are some big armor monsters with thorns in the rear that can be a problem for a sneak play. And if you have 3 sneakers, one will shatter and the other 2 will, you know, finish off the guy. I think that probably diminishes some of the value of. If we go to like this and we look at thorns, we move away from the green. Like the Enchanted Defender with its sort of sneak defense opportunity, and also the Ever Hungry Skull, because their whole thing is relying on armor. And if everybody brings a shatter, then there you go, you're a little bit more in trouble. Benari Heatsmith is not a huge, you know, powerful, overpowered card, but this is kind of a nerf for him because part of his life, a significant part of his life, is that armor. So cards that really have a ton of armor that you love because of their armor are gonna be impacted because of this. Neutral, legendary. Let's see. And yeah, Void Army. Let me see. Void armor monsters are going to be impacted by this, like nerfed, because like Naga Brute with that huge hit point and armor base, more than half it's deleted with the first hit. Legionnaire, same deal. Agor, same deal. Maybe this is in some part because of like an Agor being quite powerful. I don't know. I mean, I find he's quite powerful. I've heard people, including recently, I forget who, someone saying not quite sure about that. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really get the thinking on this. In the lore and in the article, they talk about how this can maybe be a response to Obsidian. Are we concerned that Obsidian has been running the show? I just don't. I don't see that. So, is it going to be a powerful, useful summoner? Yeah, I think so. It's going to provide a lot of utility. It's going to provide resiliency. One of the reasons I like Mimosa Nightshade, who also has Void, is that it provides resiliency on cards that don't have it. And usually that's my secondary, my tertiary, my 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th support monsters that are in the back line. They can sometimes be particularly vulnerable to magic, whether it's sneak magic, snipe magic, opportunity magic. Those rule sets all exist in the game, and also some of those monsters exist in the game. So Void will be a welcome addition. So will Shatter. I don't know if I feel that kit makes a lot of sense together. It's almost a little bit of a response to Grandmaster Wraith because you shatter the armor. It's almost a little bit of a response to some of the older magic meta that doesn't really reign any longer. And the -1 hit point is unimpressive, but, you know, valuable. I don't know, man. I don't really get it. I don't really get it. And I was listening to Gank and Walking Keys talk about the card. And I remember just the way that Keys talked about how they have a dog in their artwork, which is named like Simon or something. The name's in the blog post. Sewell is the name of the dog. Gank was talking about how because the imagery includes that dog, and they put that dog there because they want to go hunting kitties, was the joke he was making. I really thought we were going to see some sort of counter to kitty. Because in my opinion, speed is the meta. Magic is not the meta. Evasiveness is. Armor isn't. Heal and speed. I thought affliction. I thought -2 speed. I thought, you know, more up that alley as opposed to what we have here. Now, let's just. Is there any other things I want to say? I mean, yeah, big armor monsters are going to suffer. Some of the fast tanks that you already love are going to get a benefit by adding Void to them. Archimus just got better. Ooh, Goblin Mech got better. Disintegrator got better. Hydra somehow got better. So there's a lot of good cards that are going to enjoy that partnership. I just don't really see where that came from or why that was the plan with the build. Unless, of course, we're going to see some sort of other plus magic summoner coming with, maybe there's going to be a plus, you know, an even more dangerous magic summoner coming. And this is a preparation or a response to maybe too much power in the magic side. If there was another, let's say, dragon summoner that was, for instance, +2 magic, which sounds bonkers. Something like, you know, something that added a substantive amount of, you know, a return to a magic meta, then this could be a preemptive answer to that. I'm not saying I'm predicting that. I'm just saying I really don't get this card. I don't think this is a winner. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying it doesn't seem to me to compare to Grandmaster Wraith, Possibilis, you know, maybe perhaps I like it better than Yasik, but they're just so different too. Yasik's got piercing, which kind of is equivalent to the Shatter in my opinion. Yasik has the speed, which is so powerful and beneficial. Void is not really a response to usually Yasik, because Yasik is going to generally bring, in my opinion, melee or archery. So maybe also this is in some sense a response to Yasik, because Yasik's Scattershot magic can be a play that you see, and the Scattershot lands in strange places, and maybe you want to see Void in the back lines for more sustained. I just feel like this is so niche in all of its benefits, in all the ways that it's powerful. It's like each one of those is relatively niche. And I think the strongest example of that is, in my opinion, the greatest moment you're going to want to use this card in sort of like a regular way will be that rule set where monsters back to basics, because you're going to like that Void in that situation, the Shatter also. That doesn't feel strong enough to me. Let's talk about price. There's going to be ways where there's going to be partnerships where that card is really nice, where you're going to be glad you have it, and I'm going to have it. So, you know, you're going to be I'm going to be happy I have it in a good number of plays, I think. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I don't see how it compares to some of the alternatives out there. I just feel as though it doesn't. Honestly, I might prefer Quicks. Both from the 2 mana saved, also the speed, because speed is so powerful. So I just feel as though I'd rather have Grandmaster Wraith. I'd rather have Possibilis. I'd probably rather have Yasik. I might even rather have Quicks. I feel as though Possibilis is the least of these. And it's not bad. It's just the least of these, because I like these. But also, I will use it. So don't hear what I'm saying as it's crap and I'll never play with it. I will. I want it. And I think, you know, if we got $10 value on Possibilis, I think we have to imagine that that's probably, I don't know, I think less. I do. I think less. You know, maybe that's a $9 or an $8 when it launches. Maybe it's 11, and I think it trickles down. You know, even Grandmaster Wraith is getting really cheap. We got 14 bucks on the Wraith. We got 14 bucks on the Yasik. This is getting kind of ridiculous. We're talking 11 times 14, 150 bucks for a max level legendary. If you are into the game and you're enjoying the game and you have a long-term vision for where this game will go, I think this is an exciting moment for some of these amazing legendary summoners. Even Immortalis is one that you'll be so happy you have, and you will use and you will win with, and I think will be relatively inexpensive, because I don't see it. You know, if you guys are loving it, I'd love to see that in the comments. Like, how am I missing it? What am I not seeing? Why is this card so, you know, why have they included it? Is Magic a bigger deal than I'm recognizing? Because frankly, I don't see it. I just don't see it. And I think, you know what, quickly, let's look at some of the win rates of some of the Magic monsters. I mean, there's a lot of mediocre win rates here, all the way to 50%. And it's not as if all of this Magic monster stuff was just absolutely dominating. Like every Magic monster was above 50%. I would say to you, okay, well, maybe the data has proven me wrong. But there's a ton of magic monsters that are really struggling. And mind you, some of this data is unreliable. There's not enough battles. But I've got to go on something. So I just don't see it. I don't see Immortalis as being really a response to an existing meta. It seems unusual, and the kit to me doesn't make a ton of sense given where this game is at right now. I'm not saying I don't want it, but I do think it's probably the least of the summoners. What do you think? Leave a comment below. Have an amazing day. God bless.